Tipping culture is getting insane. I don't know if it's like strictly an American problem or something, but there's an issue when self-checkout machines are asking for tips.
For what?
Like, it's crazy. Like, when I see this, like, who are you even tipping in this case? Are you tipping yourself for your own good service, or are you just giving a business extra money for fun? Like, I don't even understand what the purpose is of giving a tip in this context. I mean, look, maybe there's an argument in like 2021, 2022, we're coming out of the pandemic, and a lot of us supported our local businesses and we didn't want to see them go away, as a lot of folks were struggling during that time. But now we're a couple years past that point, and everyone's feeling the pain of inflation and having to spend extra money on everything from clothes to eggs to toilet paper.
All right.
So this newfound pressure of having to tip in more and more places that we otherwise wouldn't expect really does rub me the wrong way. And when I say more and more places, I mean like coffee shops, self-checkouts, and drive-thrus.
Are we tipping at drive-thrus? I just picked up some food and I went through the drive-thru and they handed me the little thing that said 18, 20, 22% or whatever. And I picked 18 because I didn't want to tip 20. And then I felt like an asshole for tipping 18 instead of 20 plus, but it was the drive-thru. What are we doing these days? Fill me in.
What makes it even worse is I'm not even sure how we fix it, or if everyone feels it's a problem to be fixed in the first place. Some countries don't even have tipping in the same way we do, and they just pay their employees a reasonable wage. So the cultural pressure that influences when you do and don't tip is a lot different. I only bring it up because it feels like the onus to ensure employees have a decent living rests on the shoulders of the customers and not the employers, and that just seems off to me. But on the other hand, since this is how we do things here and it's part of our culture, I wonder if that change would even be welcomed. As I would imagine, for some workers, working for tips probably has a lower floor but a higher ceiling. So they probably might be able to average making more money than if they were getting a constant hourly rate. And look, I'm not exactly sure, as I'm sure it differs like case by case, whether or not you're a bartender, working a high-end restaurant, low-end restaurant, you're a valet. I actually have no idea. I bombed my Applebee's interview when I was 18, so I have no experience. Actually, come to think of it, they probably just didn't hire me because I was 18. There was like this weird stipulation for not being able to, I mean, not weird. It makes sense why they had it, but they said that you couldn't serve drinks. So I feel like they really probably never hire anyone who's 18. But then, like, why give me the interview and crush all my hopes and dreams? I don't understand that. Anyways, my main point today was about how annoying it is that we are being presented with the option to give a tip in more and more places. And now we have to try to figure out when it actually makes sense to do so. With that in mind, here are a few scenarios in which you should and should not tip. Eat in restaurants. Guys, this is not even a question. If you go out and you order $100 worth of food, you give a tip. You order $20 worth of food, you give a tip. Do not be the guy who orders $100 worth of food, leaves $1, and walks away. Do not embarrass yourself. Fellas, if you are out on a date with your significant other, do not embarrass the unit. And ladies, if you out with your girlfriends or whatever you're doing, y'all independent, you can pay. Give at least 10% if the service was trash. I personally always give 20%. In fact, you'd have to spit in my food for me to not give 20%. So, and I have to see it actually. So, anyways, yeah. Tip when you go to eat in restaurants. That's like the OG setting. Self-checkouts. No, you do not have to tip. I don't care what anybody says. Don't tip unless it's like your friend who owns the establishment, or it's your business and you want to tip yourself. Do not tip at a self-checkout. I don't care what nobody says. Uber rides and Doordashers. Yeah, I would give these guys a tip. I mean, Uber rides are like today's taxis, or if you're in a taxi, same thing. Give those guys a ride. There's wear and tear on their cars, and I'm not really too sure how much Uber is paying them. I just say, give a little something here. Oh, and Doordashers, yeah, these guys are actually going to the places in the weather, using their gas, again, wear and tear on their car to bring you the food so that you can sit and continue your Netflix binge session. So Yeah, tip these guys. Coffee shops. If I'm in the mood, I would probably give a tip here, but I don't really feel like you have to. Like, this stuff is not always set in stone. There's some things where it feels like, well, that's kind of part of the job. Whatever you're getting paid should cover that. And some things it feels like they're going a little above and beyond, and so they deserve it. So this one, I would say, like, don't feel bad if you don't. But if you're in a good mood, by all means, go ahead. Takeout. If you order the food and you drive to pick it up, at this point, you do not give a tip. I would say the only caveat would be if you did a really complicated order and you made their life kind of difficult, maybe you can consider it. Same thing with the drive-thru. You drove yourself there. So I think it's okay if you're at like McDonald's and you don't tip. So again, put this in the category of if you're in a good mood, but I feel like you don't have to. Anyways, guys, these are the scenarios for when you shouldn't tip, sanctioned by the Perspective. So if anyone has a problem with them, you could send them to the comment section, as I'm looking for engagement anyways. That's my perspective. What's yours? Let me know in the comments down below. Like the video if you haven't already, and subscribe, as I got much more content like this on the way. So until next time, YouTube, peace. Oh,